What a difference a couple of weeks makes for the Bowling Green Falcons. As we welcome in Michael Burwell from the Toledo Blade. He covers BG for the Blade. And Michael, back-to-back wins, first time they've done that this season.
Yeah, how about that too? Very convincing win on Saturday, especially, pulling away in the second half there against Akron for a 41-14 win. I think one of the biggest, as far as margin of victories, I think one of the biggest wins in the Loeffler era, especially in MAC play. So, yeah. Back-to-back wins. That's something to build on, obviously, going forward in these last few games.
4-4 because of losing to both Miami and Ohio. Getting to Detroit is very problematic for the Falcons. But a couple of weeks ago, we were scratching our heads saying, how can this team get to 6 wins? The caveat we put was if they play like they did against Georgia Tech, they can do that. Well, now you look at the remaining 4 games left. Very easily could get to 6 wins. In fact, probably should get to 7 and maybe even 8.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's definitely some winnable games left. You got Ball State, you got Kent State. Obviously, both of them are kind of struggling. Toledo, you never know what can happen. I mean, they've obviously proven that over the last few years. So there's a very good chance for this team to get to 8 wins. Especially if they keep playing the way like they've done the last couple weeks. I mean, just the forcing the turnovers has been outstanding. They forced 4 more on Saturday against Akron. 20 for the season, leads the FBS. Just really, really impressive what they're doing, just getting the ball from the other team.
Yeah, their 4 remaining MAC opponents have 6 wins in the MAC. 4 of those 6 wins are all Toledo. So that tells you a little about the remaining schedule for the Falcons. Because we talked about this. It was a very front-loaded schedule. And now that we've reached the 2/3 point of the season, not only are the Falcons playing pretty well, they've found an identity on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, obviously it all starts with the ground game. I mean, and when you have someone like Terrion Stewart who's doing what he's doing, had 19 carries, 131 yards, career-high 3 touchdowns against Akron. 4th time in the last 5 games he's eclipsed 100 yards. He's just a tackle-breaking machine, explosive runner when he gets out in space. Run the ball, force turnovers, get the ball back, and as long as the passing game, it's kind of a question mark with Connor Bazelak and Camden.
We saw both quarterbacks against Akron.
Yep. You don't really know what you're gonna get, but as long as all they have to do is just enough to win the game, not lose the game. I mean, don't throw silly interceptions, no silly turnovers or sacks or anything like that. Let the running game and let your defense, which both are playing outstanding, let that dominate the game, and especially with the weather getting colder and everything like that. That's an identity I think that this team is kind of latching on. Terrion Stewart, for his career, carried the ball maybe 14 times in a game, like twice. I mean, in the 3 of the last 4 games, he's had 19 carries, 25 carries, 26 carries. So they're really relying on him, and obviously he's really excelling.
Other side of the ball, you look at this defense and you knew there was no way you're going to replace a Carl Brooks. He's off to the Green Bay Packers. But coaches will always tell you, you replace a star by having everybody else do a little bit more, and that's what that defense is doing this season.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're coming off a really good defense, especially the defensive line performance against Akron. Dontrez Brown, a couple fumble recoveries. He had that great game against Liberty where he blocked a field goal kick. He had a couple fumble recoveries. Ali Saad had a forced fumble. Linebacker Darren Anders had a great game, forced a fumble as well. So they had 5 sacks, which tied a season high. I mean, the sack total hasn't been anything like last year. I mean, obviously with Carl Brooks, he helped them get to 38 sacks last season. I think they're up to about 18 right now, which isn't too bad. They've had a couple good games with 5, but maybe that's an area going forward, especially with that secondary playing so well with the interceptions. This defensive line, if they play like they did, then this defense is really, really going to be scary.
So the Falcons are now transitioning into the MACtion November schedule, so they do not play this Saturday. Their next game is next Wednesday when they take on Ball State, the first of those very winnable games for the Falcons.
Yeah. This is the first time that they've played Ball State, I think, since like 2015. So kind of new faces for both teams. And Ball State 2-6 record. Last couple weeks have been better for them. kind of one of those games you may, I mean, it's going to be, they're going to have to, BG's going to have to show up. I mean, they can't just expect to walk over Ball State. They gave Toledo quite a fight a couple weeks ago. They beat Central Michigan this past week, which was 4-3. So BG, yeah, I mean, enjoy it, keep improving during the bye week, get off to, good practices and everything early next week. And yeah, I mean, then you're looking at a 3-game winning streak if they can perform well against Ball State.
It's not a full week off because they are playing on a Wednesday, so it's kind of a mini week off. It's going to be interesting to see how they respond to that because you've got a lot of momentum after back-to-back wins, and now you got a little bit of a down stretch.
Yeah, that is going to be interesting. Because they're really obviously feeling good right now after Saturday. So they. Obviously, Scott has mentioned all year the consistency factor, staying sharp and everything. And this will be just this week and, early next week will be just as important as a normal game week like they've had the first half of the season. I mean, they're going to have some good practices, stay focused and everything because they're at a point now where I think they've really taken a step forward and they can really achieve some good things this last half of the year.
And just like Coach Leffler, we're going to be checking every day the calendar to make sure we know which day it is because game day and the Saturdays aren't going to match up too often for the Falcons moving forward as we're into November. I want to thank our guest from the Toledo Blade, Michael Burwell, for joining us. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.